Wonderful. All right. So we're going to get started with our panel once again. Thank you, panel, for joining us today. Just go back. I apologize. My computer is not working with me. Okay, so we're going to get started today. So my name is Marianne Mellon. I am the Assistant Director of Academic Support Services here at NSU. Today's workshop in preparation for your LSAT exam is presented by Student Success. So today we're going to talk more about LSATs and everything, but before we get into it, we're going to introduce our panel here today. So our panel, we're one by one, we're going to do introductions, and also in a panel, when that happens, please state your name and when you took the LSATs, okay? So we'll get started with our panel. First person, we'll go with Mohammed. If you can just introduce yourself and then state your name and when you took the LSATs.
Hi guys, my name is Mohammed. I'm a 1L here at NSU Law, and I took the LSAT in 2022.
Great. Can we next have Jocelyn?
Yes, hi, my name is Jocelyn, and I took the LSAT in January.
And Alexandria?
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I took the LSAT in October and November of 2023.
And Isabella?
Hi, I'm Isabella, and I'm preparing to take the LSAT.
Wonderful. All right, so we're just going to get into some of the questions. If there's any questions at the end, you can save it for the end. Once again, if not, we can contact you with additional information. So let's get into the first question. And this is an open panel, so whoever feels comfortable answering first, you can go ahead. But as the host, if we feel like, maybe too many people at a time, I will then go from there. But by all means, panel, whoever would like to answer the question first can go ahead and go. So our first question is going to be, let's get into it in a second. I apologize. Let's go into the LSAT sections first before we get into the questions. For those who are here, LSATs basically have different sections. There's the logical reasoning section, the reading comprehension section, the logic gain ones, which a lot of people tell me can be challenging, and the experimental, and then also the writing one. So these are the 4 sections that are done the day of the test. And they may occur in order. But once again, this is just from the 2023 to 2024 LSAT sections. The 2024 to 2025 is getting an update, which you can look into at Kaplan and also online if you want more information. But this is the latest one that we have right now. All right, so the first question for the panel. Can you please share some insight on how you structured your LSAT study plan? Did you follow a specific program or did you create your own?
I can answer this one. I'll start, I guess. So I used 2 different programs. I started with Princeton Review, and I did their one-on-one tutoring. And then after that, with my second attempt, I did a lot of drilling with LSAT team.
So I studied on my own. I bought a book off Amazon and it really helped me study. And then I went on LSAC and they have free exams that are structured the exact same way as the LSAT is. And I took them on there and it really helped me.
Jocelyn, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, for me, I tried kind of doing it by myself, but I also kind of knew how I work. So I ended up getting a private tutor, and that is kind of how I managed to raise my score.
And I am currently using LSAT Demon. I have talked with a lot of other peers, and they have told me that that is what has worked the most. So I am doing drilling. I also bought a book on Amazon, and yep.
So Jocelyn, I had a question. So with that private tutor, is that something that you found online or did someone refer you to a private tutor?
So actually, my boss, his wife is a judge at the Broward County Courthouse. So I used the same tutor that she had used when she was studying for the LSAT.
Oh, wow. So is this tutor like someone that's available for everyone, or is it
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So I could actually put his name in the chat if you'd like.
Yes, that'd be great. Thank you so much for
He's
sharing.
awesome.
Okay. And how has those tutoring centers been structured? Is that something that's like you would meet with the tutor like once a week, or is that was like every day? What did that look like?
So it was once every week, but you did have kind of homework assignments that you would do during that week. And if you wanted to do more sessions per week, you could. But of course, it's kind of structured and you pay for however many sessions.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, we're gonna go into like our next question. How did you balance LSAT prep with your schoolwork? Once again, this is for anyone on the panel.
I
I
can answer this. Oh,
okay. So
you
you
can
want
go. No, Alexandra, you
For
can.
me, I made sure to take a day or two out of every week to sit down and just do the LSAT. And so every other day of the week, I would be focusing on school versus those 2 days. I would sit down and make sure that those were my LSAT days. And I would just really get locked in and only focus on that.
I had a similar structure because I take kind of 6 classes every semester and then I also work. It's kind of really hard for me to kind of study full time, especially since I started studying so late into the year. So I kind of would just take one day to study and then I'd have my tutoring session that same day.
So for when I was basically working, I worked full time and then I had schoolwork and then I was also studying for the LSAT at the same time. I had my one-on-one tutoring sessions on the weekend when I didn't have class, and then I would just shorten the amount of time that I was drilling questions and doing like the homework that I was assigned by the tutor. So I just do like, you know, fit in 30 minutes somewhere, like a couple, every couple days, a little bit here and there. So it was mainly just trying to keep the consistency instead of like the quantity.
After many tries, I figured that 1 hour a day worked better for me very early in the morning because I also work and study. But I do take a day off, and then if I have times during the day that I could like spend on Instagram and stuff, instead I go into the LSAT Demon app and you can drill there and you could do for as many time as you want. Like it could be 5 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. It's very flexible. So
Great. Was there any burnout or anything like that y'all struggled with while y'all were studying?
Well, it was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it was the worst experience I've ever had studying for the LSAT. I hate studying. So that's kind of why I really needed the tutor to keep me accountable because no matter what, I knew before that tutoring session I had to get done what what homework was assigned. So it kind of kept me accountable. And with everything else going on, especially during the school year, my biggest recommendation would be to take the summer and study because whether you'll be working over the summer, at least you won't have 6 classes to worry about and then school and all the other distractions.
Did anyone else want to add to that? Great. All right, let's go to our next question. How long did you study before you attempted to take the exam?
So I was told by a lot of people that took the LSAT, they actually got me pretty scared. They're like, 3 months isn't enough time. You need so much more time to study. People were really getting into my head, but I knew that if I sat down and I worked hard enough, that I, knowing myself, was able to take those 3 months and drill and make sure that I knew it in my head rather than letting everyone else get to me. So I took 3 months of like studying once or twice a week, and then the month prior to the LSAT, I studied much more during the week. Yes, that's exactly what I did.
Mohammed
So
would
for
like,
me,
oh, go ahead, Jocelyn. Awesome.
yeah,
Go ahead.
for me, the first time I took the exam, I kind of went cold turkey. I had kind of took practice tests, but not really. And it obviously showed the first time I got the exam score back. It's not good. So that's why I got the tutor. And with that, I think it was a month or two of the tutor, and my score went up like 10, 12 points.
For my first time, I'm pretty sure the whole one-on-one tutoring with Princeton Review lasted like about a month. It might have been a little bit more than a month. Um, and the second time when I was using LSAT Demon, that was 2 months. And during those 2 months, it was basically drilling at least every other day, but multiple times a week. It'd be like 30-minute to 45-minute sessions of studying. Like I just try and fit it in at the end of my night. And that's probably one of the good things about LSAT Demon. It's pretty flexible. You can just hop in and, work on whatever section of the LSAT that you want to work on. But I definitely recommend more consistency over, doing it over a long period of time.
Okay. So we'll move on to our next question. How long in advance did you schedule your exam?
I think I scheduled it. I'm a big procrastinator, so I think I scheduled it before, like I would get emails saying this is the last day to schedule it, that type of thing. So a few days before I got that email is when because I knew I was going to take it, but I never signed up. So maybe like a week before the due date to get in there.
Yeah, I'd second that. That's pretty much what I would do too. The 2 times that I took the exam, it was kind of like getting those emails, and it was like, okay, 3 days before the deadline was to sign up is when I would sign up.
I kind of did a mix. I didn't register like 5 months before, but I definitely didn't register like a day before either. I think it was like maybe a month before or two.
Okay, wonderful. What was test day like, and did anything surprise you?
I can speak on this for a while because I had a lot of surprises when it came to test day. First of all, I decided not to take it in my own house because I'm a family of 6, and I knew with all the noise of my entire family, there was no way I could take it in here. So I went to my uncle's house, who lives like 10 minutes away. I woke up super early to make sure I had the internet and everything. I wanted to make sure I didn't leave anything off that could happen. And as I got into the exam, there's a person, because I took it online, there's a person that tells you what to do, what you need, etc. So behind me, I had a bunch of huge windows that didn't have blinds. My uncle doesn't have blinds in his house. And they told me, they're like, you can't take the exam with windows behind you. Like, you have to put something over it. I'm like, this isn't my house. Like, I don't know. It got me really stressing. I ended up taking it in his kitchen. And then they also told me that you can't have the TV. Like, the TV was also behind me. They're like, you can't have that there. You need to put something over it. So I'm running around his house looking for a towel or a blanket to throw over his TV. They're like, maybe unplug it. I'm like, my uncle's gonna kill me. Like, if I unplug his TV, I don't know what's gonna happen. So that ended up happening. You have to have, I read this before, but I completely forgot because I usually have a water bottle like this, but you can't, you need a completely see-through water bottle, and they make you like take and check all the papers. Besides that, you have to make sure like your Wi-Fi works. My computer completely turned off, but thank God before the exam started. But they were very nice about it. They were like, it's okay, like we know, because I was moving my computer around, and they were actually very nice, but you have to be very professional, and you have to make sure that you listen to all of their instructions to the T, because you wouldn't want something to happen for your score to not, after doing all that work, to not get your score.
For me,
Wow,
I took it
yes.
in,
Sorry, I just wanted to make
yeah.
a comment because goodness gracious, I'd be sweating too. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Jocelyn.
It was rough. Like the first time I took it was in person, and it was completely different. I felt like I was going through like airport security, and then they like sit you in a room with a whole group of people, and they each have like their own designated computer. There's no one in the actual room with you, which I was very confused about. I thought that there'd be someone like walking around, but you just have like three cameras just staring at you while you're taking the exam. And while I was like midway through my exam, my monitor kept turning off. And I was freaking out because I was like, why? Why is this happening? And it'd be like off for a minute. And I think everyone here knows that every minute counts when you're taking that exam. So it was very frustrating. But I was able to retake it. And I decided to do it online in a study room in the library. And that definitely helped me a lot more because I didn't have to worry about the distractions around me, people moving, putting on their headphones, going in and out of the room. I just had myself and my computer. That's it.
So for my test day, I had a sort of a similar kind of issue. I had a big office setup, so I had multiple monitors, and then I had a TV over my desk. So I had to take like a bunch of old sheets and cover that. And then like uh, during the exam itself, it was kind of confusing because like I would like I was like doing logic games, so I was doing like a lot of mapping, and my head was down, and like some person like came up on the screen and said like, "Hey, you have to have your head up or whatever." So that was kind of weird too. But other than that, it was more of just making sure that everyone in the house knew like I'm taking this exam, so shut up. you know, no noises and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it.
Wow, thank y'all for sharing. Yeah, that is for those of y'all who are, on here, that is something new. There was a time and our testing center was part of it where LSATs had to be in person, but the past couple of years they made it where you can just do it at home, but there are restrictions. So thank you guys for sharing both experiences. Really appreciate that. All right, go to our next question. Did your score improve from your diagnostic exam or a mock exam that you took to test day? I know Jocelyn kind of mentioned it a little bit for everyone else. Did your score improve?
I'd say my score from the mock exams that I would take, because I took a couple. I took two before I took the LSAT the first time, and then I ended up taking throughout studying on the second attempt. I took like three mock exams, and I'd say it was pretty close to what the mock exam score was. I think there was like a couple point different. It was like a little bit higher, but for the most part, it was pretty similar to the mock exams that I took.
So my score did improve a lot, which I was confused about because the day before I took the LSAT, I had around a 4 point difference, maybe. And then the day I took the LSAT, literally a few hours later, I got 4 points higher, which I was very happy about. I think just because when I was taking it by myself in my room online, it had no stakes. But when I took the LSAT for real, there was stakes to it. So maybe I became smarter, who knows? But for my first mock-up exam compared to my last LSAT exam was a huge difference because of the way you think. The LSAT really dictates the way you think when you answer a question. So when I first got into it, I didn't know the proper way to read the question or to answer. By the end, I did. So it really made a huge difference with studying with everything.
I know you kind of mentioned, Jocelyn, that you took it, before it, and then, you got assistance. Is there anything you want to add to, your mock exam and test days?
I mean, during my mock exams, I kind of wasn't doing that hot. I had no hopes for myself. I really thought that I was going to have to take a gap year because I was just not scoring high enough. And when I got the actual test results, I was completely shocked, happily shocked, but completely shocked because the first section that I got, I quite literally wanted to cry because I had been doing so good on the logic games, and it was like the hardest logic game section I had ever experienced in my life. But that's just like to give you guys hope that you guys can feel like you did horribly and then you actually didn't do as bad.
Thank y'all for sharing. Okay. When do you think students should take the LSAT? And we're not only talking about timeline, we're also talking about like classification, like sophomores, juniors, seniors, things like that, applying to law school and everything. By all means, please give your feedback.
So I think I took it a little too late. I did October and November of my senior year. If I were to recommend, I would say let the October LSAT be the last LSAT that you can take. If you want to take it 2 times, let that be the last one, because with applying to law school and everything, you need a little bit more time. I'm in the dual admissions program, so I didn't have as much stress as someone that actually needs to get into their applications and apply to a lot of different schools. So I would say let the October one be the last one that you take.
I would agree. I 100% wish that I would have listened to everyone around me that told me to take it the summer of my junior year or even the summer going into your junior year. Definitely take the time because I know that you kind of think that, oh no, you should take it later, or you procrastinate it. Don't, because you don't know what's going to happen. And really having that time to actually study and see where you are on that exam really helps. And also scholarships, you get scholarships a lot, because of the score, how high you get of a score. So definitely take the time to study.
Mohammed, do you have anything to add to when students should be taking LSATs or your experience?
Yeah, so I would recommend to start early on in your junior year. Um, that way, like if you're gonna take like if you're taking another attempt at some point, if it's in the beginning of your senior year, I'd say that that's good. I kind of made the mistake of procrastinating a lot, so I'd recommend not doing that because there's enough things going on senior year and senioritis and all that stuff. Like LSAT was like the least of my priorities when it shouldn't have been. So yeah, definitely start in your junior year, early on in your junior year, and then if you have to take another attempt, it's okay if it's sort of in the first half of your senior year.
Awesome. Great. So we're gonna get into some more stuff in a bit, but we're just gonna do like some quick reminders and everything about resources here at the Tutoring and Testing Center. We also do proctoring exams still for LSATs, and of course you can always do it at home. But if you know that you're gonna do it in person and you want to have that real life feeling of doing it in person, you can always call and reserve a spot here at the testing center at NSU. And we can help you, provide you a link for like free LSATs, mocks, and so on. We also have a lending library because those LSATs books be expensive. So if you want to use our lending library, it's free for all our students. You can borrow our LSAT books that we have their new editions. By all means, we will lend them out to you. We just have to return them. Also, if you need help in preparation for other guides and everything, we have a Pinterest that you can go into that has like helpful guides. Also, we have packs. So if you have a feeling that you need to kind of tailor your study strategies, you can always make an appointment with a peer academic consultant on Navigate, and they can help you create a study schedule for not only school, but also in preparation for your LSATs. So just a little bit reminders here. Before we get to the very end, I'm just going to ask the panel one last question. Is there any advice you would give to students based on what y'all have told us today? A lot of you guys were saying that there's a lot of people were giving you advice and some of it was helpful and maybe it's not so much helpful. In retrospective, what advice would you give to students in preparation for the LSATs that you wish you had been given, or maybe advice that you wish you have avoided?
It's just a test, honestly. It's just a test. Like don't make it a whole, uh meltdown phase. Like I had issues in the beginning. Like it's not easy in the beginning, but it's a lot like learning a new language. And all you got to do is just have discipline and, put in enough practice like on a weekly basis and you'll be fine.
I would say that you know how you study, you know what type of student that you are. So to start taking advice from a lot of different people that aren't the same person that you are, that don't know the way that you think, sometimes isn't the best. Also, when you're taking the LSAT itself, if you believe you did bad in a section, let's say it's the first section you took, get that out of your mind and go into the next one with a clean slate, because stressing over doing bad on one section can really mess you up on the next. You should just take a deep breath, relax, and get into this new section as if the last one never happened. Because for me, I had the logic games as my first section, and it was extremely difficult. I usually did really well in logic games, and I knew that I did not do well in that one. And I made sure that I just took a second. I spoke to myself. I'm like, it doesn't mean anything. Get into the next one and just roll with it, because you can't go back in time, but you can do great in the next section. That's what I would say.
I definitely want to echo on that last part because, like I said, after my first section, I actually like really wanted to cry because it was horrible. But I kind of just put it in my head that that could be the experimental part of the exam, even though I kind of knew that it wasn't. But just put that into your head and just move on. And for me, at least, I know, like Alexandra was saying, that you know what kind of studier you are if you like studying or if you're good at it. I'm not, and I don't like it. So I knew that for me, getting a private tutor was the best thing that I could do for myself. So I would definitely recommend it just because it's a lot better to pay the money for a private tutor and get a high score, high enough to get yourself a scholarship rather than pay the $50,000 to $100,000 a year if you don't have to.
I would recommend exploring all of the resources that are there first. There's so many resources that are free. So before jumping into like ordering books at random or paying for courses that you haven't even done like the free trials, first like find out what works best for you, what do you think adjusts to your schedule, like what I was saying with the LSAT Demon app that you can just use 15 minutes a day. They also have a really good podcast that I would recommend, like whenever you're driving to school you can listen to the LSAT Demon podcast, and they are also talking about specific questions but also about changes that are happening with the LSAT test and all of that. So that I will definitely recommend that. And then obviously not rushing it, because this is not something that you want to rush, especially because of what you guys were saying, like a little difference in points can be a big difference in the amount of scholarship that you're getting. So it's better to take a little bit more time than rushing it and maybe missing out on those scholarships.
Hey, wonderful. Okay, so we're going to open it up to the chat here on a second. So, and I know everyone's on their phones or something like that, so it takes a minute to put it in the chat, but of course you're able to speak up if you want. So while everyone's typing in any questions that you might have for our panel, this is just a reminder to thank everyone who attended today. Once again, you can always make an appointment with academic consultants if you want to personalize a study plan or something. You can also follow us on Instagram at NSU_TTC, our student success at their Instagram, NSU_student success. Lots of fun stuff, tips and everything about studying, but also just fun things going on campus and other fun workshops. So once again, I'm just going to open it to the chat if anyone has any questions for our panel here today. So we'll just give it like a minute.
Yeah, I have a question if I could say something.
Yes, please.
So I know you all briefly mentioned just in passing, like, oh, I started studying at this point and took it at this point. But how much studying, at what point, like what time period did you study that made you feel like I can, and I understand this is different for everyone, but at what point did it take you to be like, I feel confident in my capabilities? Because people have told me, the LSAT's something like you've never taken before. So how long did it take for you guys to feel confident in your capabilities with it?
I think it takes a month of, when I say consistent, I mean like at least every other day of putting in 30 to 45 minutes into the LSAT. There's a portion of I think everyone goes through, because when I was taking the LSAT, I was taking it along with some friends. There's a portion of time where you're learning the test itself, and I think that's the beginning part, and that is sort of like, the rough part for most people. It's kind of confusing learning logic games, learning logical reasoning, all that. And then the next portion is just once you understand like what you have to do is drilling until you learn from your mistakes, you take mock exams, all that stuff. So I'd say after a month of doing that consistently on a day-to-day basis, you'll be definitely more confident to take the exam.
Does anyone else on the panel want to add to that question?
I think that also the mock test, like whatever score you're getting on those, I'll say that the other day I was talking to someone in the pre-law society, and she hadn't take any mock tests prior to already scheduling the real test, and kind of like what you're getting on those mock tests is not too far what you're gonna get on the real one. So definitely, like if you already feel confident consistently, you've been getting like a good score on the mock test, I think that also gives you a level of confidence. I don't know, like Jocelyn, Alexandra, Mohammed, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I agree with you that if you're seeing those scores consistently with mock tests, then and you believe you're ready and you've studied hard, then that's it. That's good. That should be enough confidence.
Yeah, definitely. I think a mock exam, I think not enough people maybe don't take enough mock exams because they are a really good indication of what you're likely to get. And for me, I always did 5 points better than the mock exam grade that I would get. Maybe I guess, being under pressure helps, but yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So we have a question in chat. The first one, we have two. The first one is from Nathan. What section of the LSAT would you personally say was the hardest to study for?
For me, it was definitely the reading comprehension. It was actually like my best section, but it was just studying for it. It's so long and you get so tired of reading so much, but it's not that hard if you like get into like the basics and kind of train your brain on how to study for it.
So for me, it was logic games because when I was studying it, I thought, like, oh, this is so simple. Like, I got it in the bag. And then I would take them timed, which makes such a difference when you're timed with those games. They get so much more challenging and your head gets scrambled, which is why you need to be very organized when you're setting up the games. That section was very hard for me when it was timed, for sure.
For me, the hardest section was probably logical reasoning. I don't think I share the same like sentiment with people when I say like logic games was my best section. I think most people have like hard time with that section, but I for whatever reason I didn't. Logical reasoning always was like more of a mind game than logic games for me. It was you're not always picking the right answer. You're trying to understand what the question is sort of asking you. So for me, it was logical reasoning, and the way I went about that was just LSAT Demon helped a lot. I think that's where I basically saw most of my score improvement. Was when I improved on logical reasoning and just drilling questions and being consistent with it. So yeah.
Great. That kind of leads to the next question on the chat. Is it possible to tackle the entire logic games in 4 weeks if I finish simple sequencing games?
I think everyone's different. Sorry, I think everyone's just different. You see, like how Muhammad, for him, it was like that was his best section, and for me, it was making my head go everywhere. If you like that section and you think you're doing pretty well with it and you study every day for 4 weeks, I think you'll be fine. It just really depends. It depends who you are and what you think of that section.
I would
Yeah,
also say that sorry,
go
that
ahead.
there's different types of logic games. Like it's not just sequencing, there are grouping as well. So definitely make sure that you're kind of understanding all the different types of logic games that there are and being able to differentiate between them, because that's going to help you a lot when it comes to the actual exam.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it really does depend on the person, because you can, logic games can become your worst enemy, and to be like me, it's not that bad once you learn the different types of games and all. It just depends also probably more on your study habit. If your 4 weeks is, studying once a week, I'd say probably not. But if you're doing it a little bit every day, um, like I said, the best way to look at it is like learning another language. So you can only, get to the point that you want to get to with doing it every day or at least every other day.
Great. All right. So we'll just give it another minute if anyone has any other questions for anyone in the chat, or once again, you can type it out in the chat, or if not, you can unmute and ask the panel any questions you may have. Okay, so if we don't have any other questions, that's fine. Once again, this is recorded by Student Success. So if you need a copy because you want to like listen more, you can always reach out to the director of Emilio Lorenzo. He has a copy. You can always message me as well. My name is Marian Mellon. And we can make sure that you get a copy of this. But once again, thank you everyone in our panel today for letting us know about your experience. It's been really helpful, great insight. And congratulations for all y'all who got the LSAT score you wanted. For those of y'all who will be taking it soon, once again, really appreciate your insight. We hope everyone has a great day today. And once again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. Have a good day. Thank you again, panel.